Welcome back everybody to a Last Day on Earth, everything you need to know about video. I made a version of this, really didn't like it, tossed that, here we are with this version. I'm going to number this so we can keep organized, keep everything simple, also emergency awesome, styled. So let's get on with this video. This update is incredibly complicated at first. It seems very complex with everything going on, but once you really start to break it down and you really look at the numbers behind it, not just a couple of screenshots, an explanation behind it, there's some nuance and it's pretty simple. Let's get started with that. But first, if you haven't already, consider subscribing, trying to hit a goal of 25k this year. Is it possible? I don't know, but I'm certainly hopeful with this update. Let's get on with the video. So first and foremost, let's start out with the most important, levels. Now, levels may seem very controversial at first because people with levels 47, people who are level 80, they could all have the same kind of like requirement at first. But do not freak out. No matter what your current level was as you were prior to the updates, you will get injected with the, quote, new levels to complete its content first. After completion, you will be returned to where you left off. If you had already invested resources into those previous levels, those resources will now go into your inbox. So do not worry about lost resources. These levels are just there first. So essentially just like a roadblock before you can get to where you left off. I was really worried I was going to have to farm a bunch more levels after level 100, but no, these are just extra levels added on top of what you already have. So regardless, once you finish these levels, I believe there are 15 of them, then you will be returned to exactly where you were prior to this update. So very important to keep in mind. I'll do a video on exactly what these mystery levels are, but again, I need to wait for the update to come to Android, which is always a pain, but you know, I'll talk about that later in the end of the video. Point number 2, rented storage. Now, I made an entire video about rented storage, so I really do not want to focus too much of this video on that, but since this isn't everything you need to know about video, I will give you a very brief explanation about how it works. So once you gain a couple of levels, I believe it is, I'll put them up on the screen right now for extra pocket, for PvP, and for these rented storages, you will be able to rent out storages to other players. Go over to that AI, click it, and buy these storages. Then you will be able to rent out to other players. You know how previously how the storage system said 3, 2? Now it's owned by an actual player, and they're getting bonds. All rentals are for 7 days, so roughly that's 1,000 bonds, 2,000 bonds, and 3,000 bonds a piece. Depending on which storage you buy, this stuff scales up exponentially. See my other video for a lot more detail and how it connects with everything. But this video, again, just a very brief overview. Point number 3, apartments. Now, apartments are essentially like your base. Now, unfortunately, it's not like a clan base like we were all hoping for. Instead, it is more of a solo base in multiplayer, if you can think about it like that. Now, originally, you start out with this very tiny 2x2 square, which is incredibly small and basically unlivable for a city-like conditions. I mean, it is city-like. I guess that makes sense. You can upgrade this for counterfoil in the beginning. Later on, it will cost bonds to upgrade, but at the first few levels, it will cost counterfoil. Here's level 2 or level 3. As you level up higher, you will be able to invite more friends. You will gain more space in your apartment, and I believe you can place down more stuff. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I will talk about furniture in a couple of seconds. So furniture, you can go over to the furniture store. You can access the furniture store from the metro, which is right over there, where you previously go to visit other people's bases. Instead, now you can visit the furniture store. At the furniture store, you can see options to buy furniture for both bonds and counterfoil. This stuff is pretty expensive, especially considering counterfoil should be saved for renting storages right now, primarily. If you see something you like, you can go ahead and buy it. Even if you see something you don't like, I would recommend buying it. Well, later on, you need to save right now. But because the more items you have, it will give you more reputation. Regardless if it's ugly, regardless if you put it up in your apartment, as long as you have it, it will give you the reputation. I've seen some crazy amounts of reputation, so I hope this continue buying, but again, this stuff is very long down the line. If you see something you like I've seen a couple of really cool decorations, get those, but if not, I'd recommend saving for later on, as these stuff will end up filling your apartment, and also your apartment's really small right now, so you really can't fit too much in there. Point number 4, actual PvP. Now this is the part I'm sure a lot of people are hyped for, and it takes a lot, so let me break it down really quick. As I mentioned earlier, it will cost a couple of levels, those injected levels, before you unlock PvP. Now, that's very important because you can have a player who will be level 100 in business level, or you can have a player who is level 10 in business level, and they both can access the PvP zone after they complete a certain number of levels. So that's really important to know. As I mentioned earlier, you can visit this AI, which is right near the boost guy, to access the PvP zone. Right there, he has a battle pass. Now, how do you get points to level up this battle pass? Once you go to the PvP zone, I believe the fighting lasts for a couple of hours, which I'd assume the fighting for the dog tags would happen within the first few minutes, and then after that is just PvP for people who want to PvP. But for whichever player who gets the dog tags and successfully makes it out of the zone, there is a 10-second cooldown, kind of like Frostborn. You take these dog tags and you put them into this battle pass-like system. You are actually going to want to push for this because there are a couple of very cool prizes in here, such as 30,000 bonds or a new tent skin for your shop. So this stuff is cool to push up. Once you get past a certain level, then it's the infinite crates again. Here's a screenshot of all of the stuff you get from the infinite crates. Again, I really wouldn't be pushing that far. It's just a couple of weapons, and quite honestly, you're going to be spending a lot more on PvP for those items. So it's going to cost quite a bit, just saying. And then the last aspect of PvP is that red item earlier in the previous teaser is a signal flare. Not ammo, as so many of my comments were telling me about. I'm sure they were using a shotgun just to intentionally deceive, but no, it is not ammo. It is a signal flare. What the signal flare does is you need to use it in the PvP zone. What it'll do is it'll show you players hiding in bushes. So if you're opening the crate, this will be especially useful because you can't essentially get rushed by somebody who's hiding in a bush. That is a definite nice plus change, and they seem to be pretty easy from what I've seen. People are getting them in the green zones or just your standard chest and zone, so that's pretty simple. Lastly, number 5, miscellaneous changes. These are the changes I just threw in a list because they don't really fit in with everything else, but they are really important to mention. So they added all of 8 slots to the chopper. Now you are no longer just limited to 4, but you need to level up your business in order to level up these slots. Yeah, there's no like chopper leveling per se. It's leveling your business, which will then unlock more slots. Same goes for extra pocket. They added that. You need to upgrade your business in order to get extra pocket for your character. Not really sure how that works in logistical terms, but I mean, it works in the game, right? And the last change, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy about or sad about, ready meals do not affect tournaments anymore. So ready meals will not give you points in tournaments. Very worth pointing out. Anyways, my throat is about to die. Consider subscribing. ZD out.